Hey guys, King of Charmers here, to be your judge, your jury, and your analyst, and today I bring to you my top 5 teams for Master Premier Classic. There's a wide variety of mons that work for this cup. The good thing is, old combinations hold true, and Dragonites with superpowers are really freaking strong. Outside of hating Togekiss, its superpower will give you plenty of win cons against steel types, especially if you just are able to get the energy and hit it with superpower. So, yes, Master Premier Classic. Luckily, we have an alternative to Open Master League because I will never play Open Masters ever again just because of XL's ruined Open Masters for me. But before we get started, it's going to be my therapist mental health today, and you can just skip this by running 2 minutes ahead of the video or literally going to the chapters. There's a reason why I use chapters. But for those of you that do stay like I was, and there's a reason I keep this because there are people that are interested in it. So, psychotherapy, since we're talking about big classic, since we're using the word classic for Master Premier Classic, the big meta, the old meta, this is going to be the rise of modern psychotherapy. So yes, psychotherapy, yes, so therapy is called if you want the technical clinical term for it, it's called psychotherapy. So psychotherapists are also psychoanalysts. People that study psychology, etc. are called psychoanalysts, and then those that do therapy are psychotherapists. Get it? But this is just a little article that shows you just the history of psychotherapy and the big names back in the day. Sigmund Freud, Joseph Breuer, way back in the 90s, joined forces to basically find nervous disorders that first started and was born modern psychotherapy. The problem is also with this therapy also got really freaking expensive, and they found that you can actually use this, and yes, it works. So psychotherapy does work, and yes, it's real. There's a lot of cultures that dismiss psychotherapy because cultures, and you think your coconuts are too big because you don't think you think you're Superman, but guess what? Everyone's human, and every human is prone to mental illness. So take a look at this article. If you still don't believe psychotherapy exists or it's a hoax, guess what? History disagrees with you, and a lot of medical professionals, including myself, we disagree with you as well. Otherwise, I'd be out of a job, but you know what, but yes, make sure y'all take a look at this article if you're interested, and this is my top 5 teams for Master Premier Classic, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so for team number 1, we got Gyarados, Metagross, and Excadrill. You can use Waterfall Gyarados too. The only thing about Waterfall Gyarados is that if you get the mirror match and they have a Dragon Breath, they're the one that wins. With Dragon Breath, you can still beat Metagross in the 2 shield, given you don't get Psychic through shields, but it's still really good, and I definitely prefer Dragon Breath because another thing with Dragon Breath is if you don't have Dragon Breath to get a Dragonite lead, you lose the lead. Double Steel's really good here still, though, with Metagross being your safe switch and Excadrill being your second steel type. Outside of seeing a Machamp, this team does really well, and even against Machamp, Metagross can still do very well. Just be careful of getting payback. One payback will hit you really freaking hard, so make sure you be careful. Other than that, this team is very, very safe. Pretty generic as well. This was a top team from before in Master Premier Classic, and even with all the new changes, it's still really freaking good. Gyarados is still one of these, in my opinion, one of the strongest mons just because, well, actually, factually, it's one of the strongest mons. It covers a lot of back row as well, especially steals, and you've probably seen it running around a lot. It's very accessible too. It's the only mon, well, one of the few mons with here that, other than Swampert, where it only takes 10k dust for your second move. Yeah, it takes a lot of candy, but unless you haven't been hanging out at Pier 39, you definitely should have a Gyarados at this point that's maxed out, or at least close to it. It's still really good, not only for PvP, but also for PvE as well. Really solid team. Gyarados covers your back row really well, and outside of seeing other Gyaradoses, this team still smacks. So the one thing that you will have to worry about, though, is like Gyarados mirror match, but if you get the mirror match, whoever wins CMP is usually who will win, unless one of you decides to give up switch or whoever decides to play it out, etc. IVs do matter, though, but generally, if you are Hundo and you're not there, the rankings aren't too close to where it matters in the mirror. Just try to get as high as you possibly can when it comes to IVs, especially when it comes to CMP. And next up, as much as I hate to admit it, Togekiss is still really freaking good in this cup. This is Togekiss, Snorlax, and Metagross. Our kind of old Master Premier Cup team, but this team are actually, I've seen this running around. Togekiss is still really good. Snorlax is still a really great safe switch. Even with all the new moveset changes, that doesn't really change too much. You'll probably see a lot of Snorlaxes running around. It does well against Metagross. And outside of getting punched out by Machamp, which you have plenty of coverage with Togekiss, and Metagross does well against Machamp as well. This team really smacks. As you see, other than the safety thing, Snorlax is going to be your safe switch for this team. You can use Metagross too. Metagross for a long time has been one of the strongest safe switches in Master Premier Classic, just because there's nothing that really stops it, or there's not a lot of things that actually stop it and tops its stats, and Meteor Mash hits like a truck. Overall with this team, Snorlax is going to be a pain in the butt. So Togekiss versus Snorlax. Yes, Snorlax can body slam you to death, but it leaves you at risk of getting farmed by Metagross. Rhyperior, which is almost non-existent and you probably won't ever see again. Yes, in Master Premier Classic, it used to running around in early seasons, but Garchomp kind of took over. And that's why Togekiss loves to see you. Togekiss in the lead is still really dangerous. We'll take out Gyarados, we'll take out Garchomps, we'll take, well, Dragons as well. And because Dragonite is such a popular lead, it can two-shield its way through a lot of things. And with Superpower, you have a better matchup with Snorlax. However, without Draco Meteor, you can't really Hail Mary. You can't really Hail Mary like a Metagross if you're able to, like, put in the closer. And along with that, with Superpower, you kind of hate Togekiss. So, or you hate Togekiss. So, solid team, kind of on a threat score line, as you see here, but it still does really well because a lot of the combinations you see, like Samurai, Vaporeon, Arcanine, Darmanitan, you're not going to see those in this cup. You can possibly see a Chandelure, but outside of Chandelure, this team is relatively safe. Chandelure might not see a lot of play as well, just because you're going to see a lot of Dragonites, and everybody wanting to be running their Superpower Dragonite to oblivion, even though, yeah, Superpower made Dragonite really good, but like I mentioned, against Togekiss, outside of Togekiss, the only thing you really hit are going to be Excadrill is one of the things you can hit with Superpower. Magnezones are just the Steel types in general, outside of Metagross. Metagross can comfortably, well, not comfortably eat a Superpower, but it only does neutral damage in comparison to other Steel types, like I mentioned, with Excadrill, Mamoswine, etc. It can Hail Mary against a lot of things, but with Metagross, if you don't have Draco Meteor, it kind of sucks. But again, with Superpower Dragonite coming out, you can expect to see a lot of Togekisses too, if you are fed up with seeing Dragonite leads. And next one is one of my personal favorites, the Swine, as in the Mamoswine. Mamoswine is going to love this meta. Well, with Dragonite's rise, Mamoswine loves to see Dragonites. It also loves to see Togekiss. Avalanche hits like a truck, Powder Snow buff equals death, and you have two safe switches here to help you out. So Mamoswine lead, you can either use Gyarados or Metagross as a safe switch, and then you can close out. But a very powerful team, a lot of coverage, a lot of damage. Overall, this team is very solid. Mamoswine can struggle a little bit against Florges, as you see in the 2-shield, but the thing is, it barely wins. So Florges wins, yeah, will win the 2-shield, but you have to expend all your shields, and they have to hit you with a Moonblast. So if you defend Moonblast, this isn't really a convincing win with the Florges. So you don't have to worry about this matchup too much. Other than that, outside of that, Mamoswine doesn't do bad against Gyarados in the 2-shield as well. As you see in the 2-shield, technically it loses, but again, it's a super close matchup. As you see here, Gyarados will lose in the 2-shield. But again, it's super close because after you wipe out Gyarados, you're left with 26 HP, so they can farm you, so just be careful of that. But Mamoswine's beastly, being the strongest ice type with a humongous amount of damage, and it's going to launch a bunch of ice at you. Of course, you're going to lose against Metagross, but that's why we have Metagross and Gyarados to close out. Gyarados does well against Metagross, and of course, one Earthquake from Metagross itself, as if you're in the mirror match, will yeet it from the face of the earth, but it does really freaking well. So, potential threats is Gengar. Gengar could be a little scary, but at the same time, Gengar is also squishy. In the 2-shield, Gengar wins, but as you see here, Gengar can get farmed. So you beat so after this, you could literally send in Metagross or Gyarados to farm down, and you come out with energy lead. That could be that could screw your opponent, because Metagross with a little bit of energy will beat the mirror match because it can get to Earthquake faster. So again, even though Gengar is solid right here, it's not too bad. Also, we already went over the Gyarados and Florges matchups. Mamoswine doesn't have such a hard time against things that don't resist Avalanche, just because it hits so freaking hard and charges so fast. Again, for example, with Snorlax, you have to double bait with Body Slam and then Superpower in order to win. So you have to, it's very bait dependent with Snorlax. This with Mamoswine being in my opinion, the best charger in Master Premier Classic, just because of just its sheer damage, and its matchups are super close. Some you'll lose, yeah, you'll lose them, but at the same time, you'll be able to farm them unless they decide to give up Switch. Next up, we got Florges, Electivire, and Snorlax. So Electivire is actually one of the best safe switches. With Ice Punch, you can actually beat Garchomp in the 2-shield, and Wild Charge hits like a freaking truck. In Master Premier Classic, it's kind of that underdog safe switch that no one really talks about. Being able to absolutely destroy Dragonites, send Gyarados into oblivion with one shot, and it, like I mentioned, it's one of those Dark Horse safe switches. We have Florges in the lead, we have Snorlax in the back, mostly there. This is kind of just like a team. You can replace Florges, you don't need it. You could even put Togekiss in the lead if you want to, but Electivire safe switch is this here to break shields. Florges is there to cover against fighters, to cover Snorlax, which is Machamp, which is going to be the only one you see. But as you see here, amazing coverage. Great stats across the board. Florges is really good against Dragonite, Garchomp, and Gyarados. Doesn't do well against Togekiss because Charm is just absolutely super impressive. And if you see a Metagross, you're going to die. A very horrible death. No, seriously, if you see Metagross, love to see Florges. There is no sin, like, even if you're really behind, because it gets walled, you have a really bad time. Not saying you can't be Metagross, but unless you have half of its HP cut off, like you see here, good luck with trying to kill it. That's why, even though Florges is a really good lead, statistically, you see, there's too many Metagrosses running around for me to be like, okay, cool. Because Togekiss has Flamethrower, you have a chance to wipe out Metagross, which is why Togekiss is still really good. And Togekiss has a better match against Metagross than Florges does just because of Flamethrower, like I mentioned. Your opponent has to shield a Flamethrower, and in the closer, if you have like half your HP, Flamethrower can win the match with you if you have Togekiss. Also, if you see Sylveons, yes, Florges will lose against its fellow Charmer brethren, as well as Snorlax and Metagross. Excadrill also loves to see you as well. And Magnezone. So all the Steel types love to see you. You don't really have a way out of it, and you don't have Flamethrower like with Togekiss, so you don't really have win conditions against any Steel type in the game. They freaking love to see you. Now, in the meantime, you beat all the dragons. You also beat Machamp, which is a fire, but Florges, because so many Metagrosses are out here, might not be the best one of choice. But I wanted to put a team out here just in case some of you are curious about it. But like I mentioned, because of Metagross are running around a lot, unless you see Dragonites to Oblivion, which is unlikely because Metagross is so dang strong, I don't recommend using Florges. But this is one of the teams I put together. It can do well, but like I mentioned, I still don't like it because of Metagross is the king of old Master Premier Classic as far as Steel types goes, and you're gonna see it a lot. And last but not least, we have the OG #1 top team, Dragonite, Snorlax, Metagross. This used to be the #1 team and was still really freaking good since the first time Master Premier Classic, or for those of you that actually been playing this for a long time, Master Premier Cup. So this team has been #1 for a while, and it's done very well. Just because all three of these mods are obscenely thick. Dragonite with Superpower will give it an extra chance against Steel types, like we reviewed earlier, and statistics-wise, it gets A's in everything but safety. As far as the overall Metascore card, Dragonite, yeah, Dragonite loses to Fairies, but Snorlax and Metagross can close out. Snorlax beats Togekiss comfortably in the 2-shield just because you're able to buy Sound to Death. Even if Togekiss does beat you, Metagross can farm it down. So yes, and Dragonite, if you do win the lead and they throw their Togekiss into you, or they throw their Togekiss to your setter, you can send in Metagross. How you play this team is if the Snorlax is thrown into you as a safe switch, you chip away at it with Dragon Claw, then you send in your own Snorlax, or you can even send in Metagross. Usually I'll just mirror match Snorlax though, just because it's easier. Or what you can do is you can build up to a superpower, because now Dragonite has superpower, and if Snorlax gets hit by a superpower, it really sucks. So, outside of targeting Steel types, yes, Snorlax can also get hurt as well. Having one of the lowest threat scores, arguably an even better threat score now that Dragonite has Superpower. just because Dragonite beats all the other dragons. It can also beat it, even though it's weak against Gyarados and Gyarados does beat you. If you look in the 2-shield, Gyarados barely wins. So you'll win alignment, as you see here. But yes, Gyarados barely wins. So along with that, if you use a level 51, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But if you use a level 51, as you see here, Gyarados can actually lose against the Best Buddy Snort. Oh, hold on, that's not level 51, like level 41. Okay, we do this, we do that. And then if you go over here, and as you see, Gyarados loses by 1 turn. So as you see here, with a level 41 Gyarados will actually beat it. A Best Buddy Gyarados, Best Buddy Dragonite will actually beat a Gyarados in the 2-shield. Fun little fact for those that you didn't know that. So if you face a Gyarados and they're not using a Best Buddy Gyarados, guess what? You will win just by the sheer virtue of being able to get to 1 extra Dragon Claw. So remember that matchup. Because if you have a Best Buddy Dragonite like I do, you're going to love seeing a Gyarados that's not a Best Buddy one. So that's how you can kind of finish the system. But other than that, yes, incredibly strong team. This is probably going to be the strongest team overall again. Just because of Dragonite's superpower giving you more play. But strongest team, the threat score doesn't lie. And statistically, it doesn't lie either. This team is freaking good. And that's game. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Master Premier Classic is a good breath of fresh air for those of you that don't want to play Open Master League. Some people do like playing Open Master League though, because as of right now, it is the most stable meta, just because if you wail your life away, those Pokemon are so dang strong, and like I mentioned, that meta is the most stable. It's very rarely that things in that cup will change just because Zacian and other things are so strong, etc. At least until Solgaleo comes out, then you have a little bit of a problem. But other than that, that like I said, that meta is pretty solid for the most part. But this team is also, Master Premier Classic is full of teams that you likely already have built if you've played for a while, or if you've played Master Premier Classic at one point, you could do very well. So Master Classic is solid, and hopefully it gives you a way out if you can't play Open Master League or don't want to play it. Luckily, after Master Premier Classic ends, you go back to Great League. So Great League comes back. So that's the great part about it. Great League will return happily, and thank you, finally. So these 3 weeks of Ultra and Master League being shoved down our throats is finally going to end, and I can't wait till it does. Even though I'm finally having a little bit of luck in doing decent in Ultra Premier Classic for some odd reason. Because I always have really crap luck in the beginning of the season. And I'm really glad I do, because if I so much as sniff the leaderboard, I will tank. Just because I refuse to sit in the queue. If my queue I've been there before, and I don't ever want to do it ever again. Just putting that out there. I have better things to do than wait 40 minutes for one battle. Anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying it. Season 12. It's going to be bad, there's still plenty of time this season. Seriously, there's still 2 months left and we still have a whole Go Battle Day. So, speaking of Go Battle Day will be in the middle of Master Premier Classic. So, look out for that. But, hopefully y'all are enjoying Season 12. Hopefully this video does help you out. Good luck on your Go Battle. Oh, actually, do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. I stream on Friday through Sunday. And good luck on your Go Battle exits, and I will see y'all on the next video.
That I made, all the things that I have craved, these are what I could have saved.